and welcome to A Line in Conversation. Today we're joined with Liam Forrest from Bright Blue Day. He is creative director there. So yeah, tell us about yourself to begin with. I guess you'd probably be better introducing yourself.
Yeah, so I'm creative director at Bright Blue Day, so responsible for overseeing all the creative output of the agency. Bright Blue Day are one of the I'll talk about Bright Blue Day a little bit. Bright Blue Day are one of the oldest agencies in Bournemouth. We've been going for like nearly 60 years. So we've been around a long time, and I've been there for quite a long time with that. So I've kind of been there when it's grown into the place it is now, the brilliant place it is now. We're a full service agency, so we have an in-house tech department, animation, all the creative, all the copywriting, everything is done in-house. We have a wide range of clients, going from very, very big clients down to some smaller niche clients as well. All obviously equally as important as each other. So yeah, and yeah, as I said, we're full service. We do everything in house, and we create great work. So that's kind of a little bit about us. If there's anything else you want to ask?
No, that's brilliant. Thank you.
Yeah. So obviously, studio culture is very important in the design industry, and with lockdown, everyone's moved on to online and Zoom calls and everything. For you, how has it changed not being in the studio to oversee projects and creative processes?
Remote working been okay. I think for me, it's not so much. Obviously, with technology and Zoom calls, and we've got Slack and all. We're obviously communicating a lot. Actually, if anything, we're probably communicating more than we ever were, which is kind of quite interesting. For me, there is a big human element of it. I think there is a feeling of. I think sometimes. As you would know, it's been a bit of a roller coaster, this whole kind of crazy time that we're in, and I think the human element is very, very important. I think from a point of view of how the agencies work, it's been business as usual. We have, we're still delivering projects. We're still getting projects in. The type of projects that we've been getting in. Although obviously with the changing world, they were predominantly digital before. I think there's definitely been an upsurge in digital projects and more of those kind of virtual projects. So we've had a couple of projects that were started before COVID came in, and they were going to be event-based projects. So obviously all those projects had to move into the virtual space. So we've been doing an awful lot of that sort of stuff. I think. For me, I think what I miss most is the face-to-face. I think the face-to-face ideation, and I mean, obviously we can still do it over Zoom, but there's nothing that beats actually sitting with someone and going over work and things like that. So, there are periods where people are isolated and working on their own, and you can't just walk over to their desk and, help in that kind of way. But we've made it work really well. It's had its challenges, but we have made it work really well. And, on the social side of things, again, which is very, very important, obviously, as I mentioned, the human element is very important. So we've done, we do an awful lot of kind of, social activities. So we have a Friday quiz, we have virtual pub, we do all that kind of thing. So, and also I've noticed a big upturn in the sharing of things on our Slack channels, and, the banter is kind of there's a lot of that goes on. So it has been challenging, but I think not necessarily from a business point of view, but I think there have been challenges from a human point of view, and I think that there are those challenges that come with it. One of the interesting things that I've noticed is there's a lack of, obviously working from home in a kitchen or wherever, there is that lack of immediately available things that you take for granted at work. So printers, scanners, I've been doing work and I've been in the garden photographing stamps on an iPhone, which I'm then, take. So there's things like that. I think there are those day-to-day things that you take for granted that are now sort of slightly not there, because I haven't got a massive, great Xerox printer in my flat. So there's things like that. But the world is digital anyway. I mean, it has been for so many years. I have no idea. I was thinking about this earlier, actually. And, back in the day when we didn't have Slack, we didn't have Zoom, it would have been a completely different kettle of fish. If this had happened sort of 15 years ago, it would have been an absolute, I don't know how we would have made that work. So, but we were prepared for it. Working remotely has worked really well for us. So it's and I think going forward, I think it will be, you know, a change in the creative industry. I think there will be, remote working will become more of a thing. I think people have kind of got used to remote working now. So I think it, and I wonder whether there are agencies out there that will look at their overheads and go, I'm not sure we really need a big office anymore. But it's not ideal. I think that the human contact and interaction is what makes the creative industry what it is, and how you get those, you know, those kind of great ideas.
I think that's really interesting. And I mean, being at Bright Blue Day last summer, it was the studio culture was definitely like a highlight, and clearly such an important part with idea generation, but also just being there together. And I think that's really, I'm glad you've been able to kind of try continue it, but obviously it'll never be the same. I'm curious about kind of, you started to mention about the creative industries changing, but I'm curious about, has the creative, have you been able to be more creative, or have clients been kind of like, oh no, we can't do all these things? Or have there been, you know, like the limitations of not being able to do an event, maybe that's kind of forced you to become more creative? Any thoughts?
Yeah, no, I think so. I mean, I think that with the challenge comes the kind of, you know, you know, what if we do, you know, with that challenge, you have to think differently and more creatively about how you can get that sort of stuff out there. It's not, you know, billboards are a thing of the past, or they are at the moment, because there's no one to engage with them. So I think it's come with its challenges, but I think those challenges have been interesting and yes, and have pushed us. I think that it intrinsically with that challenge comes the push to be more creative in the space that you're in. As I said, it is something that we're doing more and more of anyway. The digital mediums are more prevalent than they ever have been.
Of course.
So yeah, I think it definitely has been.
Yeah, and have sorry, I've got another question. Have clients kind of been, I don't know, more fearful about doing certain creative things, or just wanting to jump on bandwagons of, you know, there's so many adverts out there that are all recorded on Zoom, that you wonder if there needs to be another.
Yeah, we're going to get saturated by them. I think there's a definite creative challenge there, in that people are just going to become immune to it. You know, the amount of adverts that are on at the moment that are using Zoom calls and things like that, I think we probably have reached saturation points on that. But I've seen some interesting ones where they've used still images and created really nice animations, using those kind of almost that user-generated content that they've obviously briefed out to people, and then they put it together in a really nice way. So I think the user-generated content is going to be a big part of it. I think maybe there's a different format than just showing a Zoom call. You know, there's the co-op one where you've got literally got a Zoom call with co-op branded Zoom user interface on it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, obviously this is going to end at some point. I mean, I don't know when it's going to be, but it's going to end at some point. But I think there are a lot of learnings that we can take out of this on how to communicate with people. You know, without doing a great big photo shoot, without doing a thing like that. So there are some learnings off the back of that.
Yeah, I think my final question is kind of, so going forward into the post all of this, and when we're all back, I wonder how the kind of digital space and our relationship with this digital space will change, or has changed even. Do you think that social media will continue to kind of grow as a really important platform, or do you think people are kind of sick of it, and our relationship with it and also our creativity on it? What do you think about social media really in the future?
I think it's always going to be there. I think people are utilising it. I mean, it's a cheaper way of doing it. I think maybe the days of the big advertising campaigns I think they have been slightly numbered anyway. I think clients are and companies are in a position with social media where they can very quickly do something, get it out there, check it, and because the metrics are all there as well, it's not like when you had a newspaper ad, you had no way of measuring the effectiveness of a newspaper ad or a billboard. But with social media, there's that continual test and try, fail, test, try, fail. And I think social media, from a point of view of learning about customer behavior, the metrics are all there for you to see that. So you can build on that and start target, and also you can target people. So, you can drill down and target such specific audiences. I think social media is here to stay. How we evolve it and make it more interesting, I think making content useful and something that people want to engage with is really, really important. I think, with ad blockers and people can see an ad a mile away. I think it's almost making ads not look like ads. It needs to be something that is useful to a person in a point of time when they are consuming it. And I think that's where social media comes in quite nicely, because you can target those people and you can redirect them. But I think there is that usefulness of giving them something that makes them want to engage with your brand rather than being sold to. I think people just see through being sold to.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I think we'll end on a quick tips for the graduates that we have.
Yeah, I thought about this one. Yeah, I thought about this one long and hard. I mean, I think it's not going to be easy. I mean, that market out there is obviously shrinking. I think it's not going to be easy, but I think carry on getting your CVs out there, trying to get in front of people virtually. I think your websites are going to become more and more important. So you need to make sure that your window on the employment world is as good and set up as well as possible. I think practicing Zoom calls is really good. Obviously, talking face to face with someone and talking like this is very, very different. So I think there is, making sure that you are well trained in online interviewing and online and how you present yourself virtually, because it's very, very, it's very different. I mean, for example, I've got my vacuum cleaner behind me, which I probably should. But yeah, I think it's things like that. But I think you just have to get yourself out there and just almost bombard people, because at some point it will come back to normal, and people will be recruiting again. And if you're good and you get that advantage of getting your work out there and getting under people's noses, I think that's, you just need to push.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll probably finish it there so we don't take up too much of your busy day. But thank you so much for your tips and insights.